and welcome to Fiction Fans, a podcast where we read books and other words too. I'm Lily.
And I'm Sarah, and I am so delighted to welcome Peter McLean and Nicholas Eames onto the podcast today, mostly for an excuse to drink whiskey at noon.
Well, thanks for having us. And thanks for the excuse to drink whiskey at noon.
So I think that was my fault. It's 8 p.m. here. I mean, I'm in the UK, so I'm perfectly allowed to drink whiskey. Eames has got no excuse, but I know he's doing it anyway. So,
Well, it's Saturday.
I think the excuse is being on the podcast.
Yeah, absolutely that. Yeah.
So today our topic of discussions is whiskey and publishing. But before we jump into that, what's something great that happened recently for everyone?
Oh, I had a bit of a breakthrough today. So I'm currently between contracts on books. I've got a pitch out with my existing publisher, and I've also got an IP project I'm pursuing. But in the background, I've been writing a children's book for fun. 8 to 12-year-old middle grade.
God.
Yeah, I know, man. I know. Anybody who's read my published stuff is throwing their hands up in absolute terror at this point and thinking this person should not be allowed to talk to children. I grew up reading Dinah Wynne Jones and Joan Aitken and this kind of thing. And, you know, some of Tanith Lee's juveniles and Robert Heinlein's juveniles. And I thought, you know, I'm an old man. I've got grandchildren in that age bracket. And I thought, I want to write a book for them. So I started doing that just for fun. And I floated the idea past my agent, who I honestly thought was going to bite my face off for the very, very suggestion. But she's actually been very supportive. And surprisingly, she's got apparently a couple of other clients who are writing middle grade at the moment. And I'm just doing it for fun. But I finally landed the end today. So, I mean, I've not written the whole book. I've written about a quarter of it, but I'm one of those people, I can't finish a book until I know how it ends. And I think I came up with the end today, and I like it. So yeah, that's a good thing that happened to me this week. I've got the end of my middle grade project, so now I think I can maybe actually finish it.
That's great. Everybody died.
Yeah, thank you. So that's me. What about you, Nick?
Well, mine's less publishing related and more personal. And that's that this week my girlfriend came to visit for a month and a half and more. So,
oh, brilliant.
Yeah, she came last Monday, and yeah, every day has been wonderful since. So
Does she live a long way away from you then?
Currently, she lives in Ontario. She teaches at university there, Queen's University there. So.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for taking some time out of your time with her to come hang out with us.
Yeah, no problem. We got a busy day here, but this is one of the most important parts.
You're in Toronto, aren't you, Nick?
No, I'm in Victoria, so the West Coast.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Island off the coast of Vancouver. It's absolutely beautiful here.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's a pretty good place to live.
Nice.
Where do you two live?
Oh, we're on the southeast coast of England. So we're in Norfolk. We're very near the North Sea coast, about 40 minutes drive from. Well, I mean, we live on the outskirts of a city called Norwich, and yeah. I mean, you could be in North Norfolk in 40 minutes from here, right on the beach. We had a weekend away at the coast actually last weekend. It was the 30th anniversary of the day I met my wife.
Oh wow!
So yeah. I took her away for a night in a beautiful 1930s. Period correct Art Deco boutique hotel, and the steps down from the outside bar terrace literally lead onto the beach, and it's just this place is lovely. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, that sounds great.
We'll go back there again. It's just I love the sea, love the coast in general, and the North Norfolk coast is absolutely beautiful. So we will be doing that again.
Happy slightly belated anniversary to you two.
Thank you very much.
Well, you're both adorable. I wasn't expecting that to be the vibe of the episode.
Yeah, these big, bad, evil, grimdark authors that are, loving family men of long standing. Yeah. What we write is not necessarily who we are. You know what I mean?
For the best.
I learned how to paddleboard recently. That's my good thing.
Nice.
Okay.
Trying to get more outside activities, doing things.
You live on the West Coast as well?
Yeah, I'm in Seattle.
Okay, cool.
So we've had an absolutely gorgeous spring. And I was like, I need to be outside.
Yeah. We probably get the same weather, you and me, actually.
Yeah, pretty close. I know it's been absolutely stunning. A little rainy today, but what can you do?
Yeah.
My good thing is that I made lemon curd, and it actually turned out okay.
Oh, great.
Excellent. Oh, I like lemon curd, actually.
I have 2 very productive lemon trees, so I'm constantly trying to figure out things that I can do with those lemons.
We have a very productive plum tree, and honestly, my wife made gallons of plum chutney about 2 years ago. You know what I mean? You think that's only God, there's only so much plum chutney you can eat. We were giving it away, but that was lovely.
My father has plum trees too.
Mhm.
So every plum season, it's plum jam, plum barbecue sauce, plum everything for about 3 weeks.
Amazing.
Oh, it's good on duck. Plum barbecue sauce is very good on duck, definitely.
Oh, that sounds great.
Oh, yeah.
You're all making me hungry. It's almost lunchtime. But more importantly, what is everyone drinking on this lovely day? Got to get to the important questions.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, I'll start this one. I'm drinking Woodford Reserve bourbon. This beautiful glass with a, actually can't see it, but it's a Darth Vader ice cube.
Oh, fun.
Oh, excellent. Excellent.
Yeah.
It's funny you say that. I nearly bought a bottle of that today because that's what you bought me. That time we were at, was it MCM or SRFC or something? We met in London, didn't we?
Yeah, I was there for Comic-Con. We went to the...
Yeah. It must have been after Comic-Con, I think. I had to run for my train, but you insisted on buying me a drink, which was very kind of you. And you bought me Woodford Reserve, and it was very nice. But I'm actually drinking. My boy, it's Father's Day here tomorrow, so my boy came round to see me yesterday, and he bought me a bottle of the Singleton, which is a Speyside single malt I've never had before, but I'm enjoying that at the moment. It's from the. It's a shame you're not doing video because I'm trying to show your viewers this and you haven't got any viewers. From the Dufftown Distillery in Speyside, and it's very reminiscent of Glenlivet. It's extremely nice.
Oh, that's great. I also wanted, you can't see this either, but I've also got a bottle of this on hand, which is brandy, which I bought while I was reading Pete's series. I got some of the swilling brandy, and I was like,
fantastic.
I should drink more brandy. So, as you can see, I haven't really gotten through it yet. But
no, I don't drink brandy either. I know it's my main character's signature drink, but I don't drink the stuff either. Really, I'm a whiskey man. But yeah, brandy's one of those things I'll drink if somebody puts one in my hand, but I wouldn't go out and buy it if you know what I mean.
Yeah, well, I can be pretty easily influeed by certain books when they talk about what characters are drinking. There's a series called The Commons by Jeremy Zoll.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of a sci-fi book. And Jeremy Zoll, I've been giving him a hard time because he's a gin guy. Whiskey is drinking fantasy authors, but he's a sci-fi author technically. So, but his characters are just nonstop swilling gin, and he goes into a little bit about it, and he does make it pretty appealing. So I'll hand him that. I almost want to drink it while I'm reading those books.
I mean, a nice gin and tonic is pretty good.
It's true.
I do love gin, but we have to be drinking whiskey today. We don't have to. We choose to because it's wonderful.
Exactly.
I'm also going with bourbon, but my go-to is Basil Hayden. It's nice.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Don't know that one. Where's that from?
It's Kentucky bourbon.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. I have such a sweet tooth, so I always go. I lean pretty heavy on bourbon when I'm going whiskey.
Kentucky makes so many bourbons, you'd think it would just be distilleries, the entire like, how is the room for anything else?
And Sarah, I know.
I'm team Scotch.
You and your Scotch.
Yes, me and my Scotch. Today I'm drinking Lafroig 10.
Oh, I like Lafroig. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, I can't drink it in the summer. That's a winter drink for me, but I do like it. Yeah.
I'll drink it whatever.
Oh, and I have mine on the rocks. How's everyone else enjoying their whiskey? Yeah.
Neat.
Yeah, no, I've got mine straight. Yeah.
Yeah, bourbon, I do it both ways. Obviously, I wanted to show off the Darth Vader ice cube. Also, I make a lot of old fashions with bourbon, especially. So
Okay.
Delightful.
Yeah.
Well, not just whiskey. We're also a book podcast. Sometimes.
I've been tricked.
Has anyone read anything good lately?
Yeah, I don't know if you know Anna Smith Spark, who wrote the Empires of Dust trilogy. She's a very, very good friend of mine, and she sent me a pre-arc blurb copy of her upcoming latest one. After she's just had Woman of the Sword released, but this new one, it's A Sword of Bronze and Ashes, and I'm reading that at the moment. I'm probably about 90% through it. And if I want to do a covered blurb, I've got a deadline of the 20th, and I got it about a week ago. So I'm head down full at a gate, charging through this thing, trying to meet her deadline for the blurb. It's phenomenal. It is full on mythology. I mean, I don't know if you know Anna, but she's a classical scholar. Actually got a PhD in classics and literature, and it reads like the old Norse myths, the Poetic Edda, and the Iliad, and this kind of thing. It's completely off the hook, but it is fantastic. Really, really enjoying that, and I'm pressing on, hoping I can meet her blood deadline because I would love to get my name on that. It's just her prose is outstanding. I can't write like that.
You put a couple good lines of it on Twitter. I saw.
Yeah, man. It's just, I mean, it's different to what I write. I mean, I write crime thrillers dressed up as fantasy. Anna writes the ancient mythology of a dead world that never existed dressed up as fantasy. So, you know what I mean? We're coming at it from completely different angles, but I really, really admire what she does. Wonderful stuff.
That sounds excellent. Is it normal for a blurb request to have such a short timeline or turnaround?
No, there was a bit of a pre-publishing snafu, apparently. I mean, generally, publishers send out ARCs to reviewers and booktubers and book talkers and all the rest of it, you know.
Book podcasters.
Yeah, absolutely that. But they're finished. It's all done by the copy edit, and there's already an author blurb on the cover, and this is basically what we're going to press with. When they want the author blurb for the cover, they will send what they call normally bound proofs out to selected authors and authors that their author has said, yeah, he's my friend. He'll read it for me, definitely. You know, they're often very rough and ready. I mean, I've had some from Gareth Hanrahan and O.J. Barker, and yeah, I mean they've not even been through line edit yet, but you have to take that under consideration and go, well, this is the gist of it, you know. But Anna's publisher, I don't know, something got a bit lost in translation and they didn't go out, so now suddenly it's a screaming emergency if they want a blurb at all. So, you know, no, the timelines aren't normally that short, but something obviously went a bit wrong. But no, anyway, that's beside the point. It's a phenomenal book, and I'm really, really enjoying it. Go on, Nick, you're revving up to say something, man. I saw you just go and get an unmarked book.
When you were talking about that reminded me of one of my most prized possessions. Is this? It's like one of these, like it's like bound in a really weird way. Copy of Priest of Bones by Peter McLean.
Oh, fantastic!
Paper version.
Even I haven't got one of them.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. Yeah, I love when I get books.
I've got one of those of R.J. Barker's The Bone Ships that looks exactly the same. Yeah, it's a real, you know, they've just run it off the office printer and chopped it and glued it together kind of thing. Yeah. No, those are so rare, but no, I don't have a bound proof of my own book.
No, I certainly have one of mine, that's for sure. Well, I've been reading a couple good books. I was reading this. I got back into this, The Tyrant Bear Cormorant. A few years ago, I read The Trader Bear Cormorant. It was one of my favorite books of the last decade or so. In England, the title was horrendously neutered to just be called The Trader, which is like I think it's like, to me, it will be one of the all-time biggest mistakes in publishing, because there's so many books called The Trader. Who cares about a book called The Trader? But when it's called The Trader Bear Cormorant,
I don't know why they did that. I really don't.
I don't get it. Especially, like, you think usually it goes the other way. Like, books often get like their titles dumbed down a bit for North America or changed for North America, like Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, for instance. You know, but to take out like The Trader Bear Cormorant, to me, was such an intriguing title. I'm a huge fan of long-winded titles. And so to just call it The Trader is just like, well, who cares? Who's the trader? I don't, you know.
Yeah. So, I mean, your SEO's in the tank with that, isn't it?
Yeah.
So my very first book with Angry Robot, the first book I ever signed, I called The English Magician, and they changed it. And the lead character's name is Don Drake, and they changed the book to be called Drake.
Yeah.
And I think, do you know anything about R&B music? I mean, I'm on page 19 of Google if I'm lucky, if you search for Drake. And you just like, really?
Good point. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Sometimes you've got to wonder what people are thinking, but there we are.
Yeah. And then a couple of days ago, I bought this book for my girlfriend, Yellowface, which is brand new from Rebecca Kwong. And then I promptly started reading it myself, and it's phenomenal. It's got a lot of like, I feel like it's people who are in publishing or know a bit more about publishing would enjoy it a bit more, because it's very much about how books are selected and authors are selected even before they get published to be big, to be bestsellers. And some of them aren't. And both Pete and I have recently been on a podcast called the Publishing Rodeo Podcast, which talks about the harsh realities of it. And this book kind of shines a light on that, as well as many other things. And I'm in a Discord chat with Rebecca Kwong, and it's funny to see a lot of that, the stuff that we gripe about, aired out in literary fiction. And it's brilliant so far. I'm loving it.
So is it not fiction then? I assumed it was. I don't know anything about it.
No, it is fiction. It is fiction.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's about a girl whose debut kind of tanked, and she has a friend who is a fellow writer who just like is skyrocketed, and then that friend in the very first chapter dies, and she watches her die. She's there with her, but she takes her manuscript home, this woman's brilliant unfinished manuscript home, and finishes it herself and passes it off as her own.
Oh, okay.
It's a very good idea. Yeah.
That's quite cool. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, it's good.
So how much does marketing influence your decisions when you're working on a book?
Oh, that's a difficult one to answer. Marketing, once the book is out, marketing influences absolutely everything.
Right.
I mean, marketing spend defines whether your book will be a success or not. It just does. And like Nick was saying, I was on Publishing Rodeo a couple of weeks ago, and we talked about this a lot. And one of the hosts of that, my friend Sonia, I mean, she did very, very well. She got a very good advance, very good marketing spend, and knew she would be on the Sunday Times bestsellers list months before the book came out, because these things are prearranged and marketing just know it's going to happen. Yeah. In terms of do you write to market? No. I would say no, because publishing, I don't know what you think about this, Nick, but I mean, in my opinion, publishing timescales are so long that if you're writing to market and chasing a trend, by the time your book actually comes out, that trend has been old news and dead for 2 years, and nobody's going to care. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, the number of people writing vampire shit the year that Twilight hit big, and by the time their stuff came out, everyone was like, "Meh, vampires, bull, but that same Twilight, go away." Do you know what I mean? You can't do that. You have to try and. I mean, Mr. Eames here is the master at this. Honestly, you have to set trends, not follow them. I mean, who wrote rock band touring mercenary fantasy books before this gentleman? Absolutely nobody. And I think if you'd pitched it 5 years ago, the agent would have been, fuck off, what? But, Nick just nailed it, and it's so good. What he did with Kings of the Wyld, I don't think anybody's ever. Maybe I've always I don't know if you take this as a compliment or an insult, man, but I've always thought of you as being very Pratchett adjacent. It's that kind of that same vibe that you use the fantasy milieu as a satirical lens of the real world, and I think that's so clever.
I take it as a compliment.
I mean, I try and do it with politics, but to try and do it with rock music, I mean, that was a stroke of genius, man. It really was.
Well, I appreciate you saying so. Thank you. I'll constantly feel lucky to have thought of the idea myself before anyone else got to it. Anyway,
I must admit, the first time I read Kings of the Wyld, I mean, I really, really enjoyed it, as you know. But the first thing I thought was, dang God, why didn't I think of this? But I mean, I'm a huge classic rock fan, but it didn't enter my head. And this is the thing with art: the genius is being the one to think of it, and you were the one who thought of it. You know what I mean? And you did a really, really good job with it.
Yeah, I feel like many people might have thought of it first, and they might have just not written it. I mean, because it kind of sounds like a goofy idea. And also, they might have written it and got it changed on the way. Because as I've said many times before, my book could have got. There was agents that I ran into and publishers that I ran into, luckily at the same time as other competing offers, that wanted the book changed to be less like, all the rock references taken out, more like a Joe Abercrombie light. And, I would have probably said yes, years and years of trying to be an author. So I'm lucky I also ran into the right, agents and editors on the way.
Oh, definitely. That's so much of it, isn't it? Is the luck of right thing in front of the right person at the right time.
Yeah.
If they'd made you take the rock stuff out of it, it would have just been another also ran. You know what I mean?
Yeah. with some writing, obviously, but
pretty standard fantasy. But that was your magic sauce. It really, really was.
I agree.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Well, I skipped our answers. I have not done any recreational reading recently, so that's why I just went past that.
Okay. No idea what we're talking about at all. I mean,
I've heard a lot of authors when they're interviews, they talk about how they don't have time for reading anymore because they're too busy writing. And to me, that would not be worth it. Like, to have a career in writing is not worth not reading. Like, reading is why I became a writer.
Absolutely.
And so if I didn't have time for it, then no, thank you. No fucking thank you, even just to throw our first word really out there.
No, absolutely. I've always got a book on the go. You've got to be. I mean, even if it's an old book I'm rereading, you've always got to be reading something. But I mean, I don't know about you, but I get sent a fuck ton of arcs and blurbs and coming up things, and I'm going to be honest. I can't always read them all. I get sent arcs that I just don't open, but because I can't. I've got my own shit to write. I've got a full-time busy day job. I've got commitments to other authors that I actually know. Like I say, I've got 3 days to finish Anna's book and write her a blurb. that kind of thing kind of takes precedence because I know Anna and not Joe Random who said, "Can you please read this?" And I'm thinking, well, yeah, maybe one day, mate, but don't get your hopes up, and probably not. But yeah, no, you've got to read as well. I think you really have. You've got to stay current in your genre. Do you know what I mean? I think trying to publish when you haven't read anything written in the last 20 years is kind of a fool's errand.
Yeah, I agree.
You've got to stay up to date.
I agree.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of aspiring authors, not so much nowadays, but maybe even just 5 years ago, they hadn't really read fantasy since they read like Robert Jordan and Stephen Erickson back in the day, and they were churning out, and maybe they read Brandon Sanderson, but they were churning out these 300,000 word epics that literally only Brandon Sanderson gets away with nowadays.
Yeah.
Not realizing that what was popular when we were teenagers isn't popular now. So
exactly. Oh, if I sent a 300,000 word book to my editor, she'd throw it at me, man. I mean, you can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, I think part of it is cultural shift. I mean, people's attention spans are shorter. People want short, sharp entertainment. Novellas are getting popular again now, which they used to be impossible to sell.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, it's simple logistics. Paper costs 3 times what it did 10 years ago, and warehousing and shipping. And nobody wants books the size of a house brick anymore, unless you are Stephen King or Brandon Sanderson or, well, I was going to say George Martin, but when did he last write a book? I mean, you know what I mean? But people you've heard of, and us mere mortals, we're not doing that. And I mean, really, why do you want to? I'm realistically not getting paid any more for a 300,000 word book than I am from an 80,000 word book, because I get paid what I get paid for a book. Basically, why would I want to really write 3 books for 1 book's money? It's stupid. Do you know what I mean?
Do you think ebooks will affect that at all as ebooks rise in popularity?
Do you know, I don't know. I mean, ebooks have been popular for a long time, and certainly in self-publishing, they're majority of people's sales. I sell fewer ebooks than I do print books, but then I'm in Barnes and Noble and Waterstones and I forget the Canadian equivalent. There is one, isn't there?
Well, Indigo, I think it's called now.
Indigo, yeah, that's it. The big chain bookstores.
Yeah.
But yeah, ebooks sell gangbusters when they're dirt cheap. I had a BookBub promotion that my publisher arranged for, I can't remember if it was Bones or Lies now, but they BookBubbed it for 99 cents for a week, and it sold thousands of copies, but thousands of 99 cents is percentage isn't all that much money, is it? But then I know some authors say they sell far more on audio than they do anything else. It seems random. I don't know what the drivers are for it, but no, ebooks are important. But then you cannot sell a trade publishing contract that doesn't include ebook rights anymore. You used to be able to.
More audio, really.
No, not anymore. I know Michael Sullivan did very well out of this. He was originally self-published, and he sold print rights to a publisher but kept ebook. But I mean, we're talking 10, 12 years ago. You can't do that anymore. They've wised up. They want the ebook rights. So, I mean, money's money. You get ebooks are cheaper, but you get a much better percentage off an ebook sale than you do off a paperback sale. So, yeah, I don't know. I think you'd have to be a quantitative analysis to do the numbers on that kind of thing and figure out which is your best sales channel. But basically, as long as it's selling, we're all happy. You know what I mean?
Well, I devoured all Pete's books through audiobook. I didn't even realize that the narrator changed partway through, apparently.
Yeah, well, it depends where you are. So in the UK, it was David Hale all the way through.
Okay.
And certainly in the States, I guess obviously it was in Canada as well. I don't know if you know that. It was John Lee for the first two and then David Hale for the second two. But because I changed publisher, I mean, I was with Ace at Penguin Random House in North America for the first two. And then they didn't pursue the series, but Hachette in the UK did. So thankfully, God, this was a touch and go fucking moment. It really was. But Hachette picked up World English for the last two and put them out in North America with the UK narrator. So yeah, it kept going. But apparently that I mean, I can't listen to my own audiobooks. I can't listen to somebody else read my book. But apparently they're both very, very good.
Yeah, they're great.
Yeah. No, I auditioned both of them at signing, so I know they were good. I just can't sit and listen to the whole thing. But no, apparently a lot of people haven't noticed the transition, which is really, really good to know.
No, they're both guys that sound remotely kind of like you, so which is perfect. Because I thought you should have read your own audiobook.
I'm not that good. I'm not that good. I know. Do you know Christopher Billman that wrote The Black Tongue Thief?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I know he narrated his own audiobook, but then, and everybody says it's wonderful, but then he is a professional performer. Yeah. And I think, well, if that's your background and what you can do, then yeah, go for it, man. Why wouldn't you? But I don't think I'd quite have the confidence in my voice to do that.
Yeah.
But no, he is supposed to be phenomenal. I loved the book. I read it in paper, but I absolutely loved the book. I thought it was really, really good.
Truly. I mean, that replaced the Trader Bear Cormorant for my favorite book of the last decade, for sure.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, it's a good one.
Nick, do you tend to do audiobooks?
I do all kinds, just being kind of like Pete. I do get sent a lot of books to read. And for a while I do, and then I do go through spurts where I do try to read as many as I can. Obviously I choose based on whether I like the person in real life, I'm more likely to honestly read somebody who is a debut than somebody who's pretty famous, just because the famous person doesn't need readers or any help from me. And so I would try to read people that need the most. But audiobooks are also a great way to help, keep up books that you want to read. And sometimes I find once you read a book in an audiobook form, you're so used to it and the performance is so much better. There are certain series, for years and years and years, I read Joe Abercrombie books, and I kept hearing that his narrator was great. And finally I listened to a Joe Abercrombie book on audio, and I don't think I'll ever go back to reading them because his narrator is unreal. It's so good.
Oh, is this Stephen Pacey or Piercy or whatever his name is? Yeah, I've heard he's really, really good. Yeah, I mean, I've got bad ears. I can't wear headphones for more than about an hour, so I don't do audiobooks. But no, I have heard he's really, really good.
Well, he was an actor, right?
Yeah, I think
because he was in Blake 7. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that he'd be good at.
And he goes for Michael Sullivan's narrator. I forget his name right now. He's also Pierce Brown's narrator for the Red Rising books. And it's honestly if someone has told me they read Red Rising in paper form, I would just feel nothing but sorrow and pity for them, because missing out on that audio performance would be a fucking shame, because they are unbelievable, unbelievable performances. And no one should ever read them. And if you've read them, stop it and listen to them again. Because the performance, that guy gives everything. I have been just brought to tears and just stunned and shocked by how good he is. They're great books. Audio.
It's weird. I've always said that about Anna Smith Sparks stuff, that you shouldn't read it. You should read it aloud. Yeah. Like I say, I can't do audiobooks, but yeah. I do like reading aloud. That's something I quite enjoy, and I like to perform. I'm a frustrated actor. I like to perform shit, but her books are like Homer. You know what I mean? They're oral poetry. They are designed to be read aloud. To just sit there and quietly read it, potter along, reading it off the page like a fantasy book, I think you're missing a lot. It sounds like we're saying the same thing. They should be recited rather than just read. It's like the Odyssey or something.
Yeah, I'm going to read in public, and it's like a stage play.
Absolutely, that one.
Yeah. What about you two? Do you audiobooks lots, or?
Oh, you go first, Sarah.
Unfortunately, audiobook as a format doesn't work for me. I really wish it did. But in order to be able to actually keep track of what's going on, I have to be sitting doing something with my hands like knitting. And I just don't have the time to do that because it's a lot faster for me to read it on a page than it is to listen to an audiobook.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Other people say then you listen to it at 2x speed, but that feels like it defeats the purpose.
Yeah.
That just enraged. Like I usually put it on, I think 1.2 because they do read slower. And if I'm currently reading a book, which I will not name, that is like not good, even though I love the author, and I'm just trying to get through it. So it's on 1.5, but I've seen people on, I've been in part of conversations where people listen to books on 2.0, and that infuriates me because I'm a person who loves, I love prose, I love like eloquence, and even the way an author, which you're going to lose, like if I listen to some really beautiful audiobooks and I like something like Madeline Miller, her books I think are probably better read because even though the narrators are phenomenal, the writing is so beautiful that I often have to rewind and listen to paragraphs over and over and over again. Like I remember the last paragraph of Song of Achilles, I must have rewound it 15 times just to listen to it, where normally I can pour over a paragraph on a page and really look at it. But I feel like where an author puts like a couple words in a sentence instead of adding it to the paragraph or putting on the end of a paragraph matters. And spaces matter and pauses matter for dramatic purposes. So I feel like when you're listening to it on 2 times, like, yes, in relevance to the rest of it, it's technically a pause, but it's not really a pause. You're not going to get those dramatic moments and those big things. So yeah, I think I can gripe about that.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. I think an author's put a lot of effort into rhythm of language and pacing, and I think if you listen to it and speed it up, you're gonna lose all that, aren't you? That seems a crying shame to me. But
ultimately, however you enjoy books, then feel free to enjoy them, but stop it.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's still a valid way of reading, but you shouldn't do it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of people that don't like audiobooks and don't think that's a valid way of reading, but they've obviously never listened to Red Rising. So,
Well, I think people who don't think audiobooks are a valid way of reading are like me, and just audio doesn't stick in my brain. Like I can't really follow, I can't concentrate on it when I'm just listening. So for me, if I listened to a whole book, you could say you did not really absorb that, and that would be true. But that's definitely a personal thing.
I say it's a physical thing for me. I just cannot wear. I certainly can't wear those poke in your ear headphones. I've got no end of problems in my ears.
I just blow a speaker and start cleaning the house.
So I mean, I've got a Lantronics headset on, and I can use that, but earbuds to listen, no, I just can't do it. So I don't do it.
Yeah.
When I had a commute, I would play the audiobook in the car, and that worked okay. But even then, weird traffic, I would then be paying attention to driving and lose half a chapter.
Yeah, driving would be difficult. I usually put it on while like making dinners because making a dinner can take you 45 minutes to an hour. So like, my God, would you rather just do that in silence or listen to an audiobook? It's not even a choice. Like it's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise I wouldn't make dinners.
Yeah.
So we've talked a little bit about your like audiobooks publishing and a little bit about some of your publishing journey. How do you think publishing has changed in the time that you've been in the industry? Is that too big a question?
Probably not in a good way. I mean, the trouble is we've had a pandemic and we're on the brink of a world war and nothing has got better, has it? If we're absolutely bloody honest about it. I mean, I don't know. I've only been in publishing for 7 years, I think. I can't remember when my first book came out now. I think it was 15. And yeah, it's definitely got more difficult. Publishers take fewer chances these days, I think. They want sure things rather than punts on unknown authors. I mean, Nick and I aren't unknown, but we're both fair. I mean, stop me for disagreeing, Nick, but I would say we're both still fairly new to this.
I feel new, yeah.
You're long-standing, like your George Martin's. I mean, yes, all right, he's done nothing for 12 years, but if he ever produces another book, it will automatically get published. Whereas if we both produce another book tomorrow, it's a bit, I don't know, I ain't betting on it. I'm hoping it'll get published, but there's no guarantees anymore. So I think it's just got a hell of a lot harder for everyone. I mean, layoffs in the publishing industry I have seen are frightening. my very well-established UK editor, whose name is actually on the imprint, got fired from her imprint. The Writers Guild of America are on strike, and I was just thinking, it's grim. I think is, to be honest, the absolutely honest answer. It is pretty damn grim at the moment for everyone.
What's the name, sorry, of that British imprint?
Joe Fletcher Books.
Joe Fletcher. Joe Fletcher got fired from Joe Fletcher Books?
Yeah, she did, man.
Nuts.
I know. This is where things, I have no idea why.
Yeah.
But yeah.
You know, it's funny. Joe Fletcher Books was the other publisher that was interested in Kings of the Wild, but I didn't go there.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, they're a good imprint. They're part of Quercus at Hachette. It's Big Five. They're a good publisher.
Yeah.
You know?
And I had it in with them because Sebastian de Castell was published with them.
Yeah, he was. Well, he still is. Yeah, he's got a new one coming out. Oh, I keep getting this confused because it's got nearly the same name as one from Cameron Johnson.
Yeah, it's called the Maleficent Seven or the Malevolent Seven.
Yeah, no, I think Cameron's was Maleficent 7. I think Sebastian's is Malignant 7.
Malevolent 7.
Malevolent 7, that's it. Yeah, well, no, I read them both. They're both really cool.
I would say the same as Pete. I mean, it's just had to tighten its belt a bit more. Like even when we got into the industry, it was already like that. Like sometimes it gets a bad rap for being a business, which it is, and they do have to make tough choices because they're in a tough position, to be perfectly honest. Especially in the world that it's changing, keeping up with ebooks, keeping up with audiobooks. No one knows exactly how fast either of these things are going to catch on, and things get pretty tough. And obviously, both of us know that the people involved, like the editors, they're real people. They love books. They love books, and they want their darlings to flourish. But at the same time, it is an industry where if you don't succeed, then you rarely get a second shot, unfortunately. And so, yeah, as Pete said, it's just gotten tighter, and things like marketability have become, especially with the rise of social media, have become huge. Like once again, to unfortunately name drop another podcast, that Publishing Rodeo podcast, I had no clue they do an episode, the second or third, that's about crates, especially in the UK. And so whether a book is crateable, whether it can be shipped with these crates, that's why Sunyi knew that her book was going to be a bestseller, because they put 20,000 of these books in a crate and ship them out to people with scented candles and stickers and stuff like that. And if any author sells 20,000 books, they're good to go. Like they're fine. And so if you get a deal like a crate, then that's going to cement you in the industry for the next few years. And it's pretty easy to think, like, is my book a crateable book or is it not a crateable book? And unfortunately, people sometimes just don't want to write a crateable book. It's not everyone's cup of tea.
No, I mean, this is the thing. I mean, do you want to write to market, or do you want to write what you want to write? Yeah. And I always think with this shit, it's a lot of it comes down to, am I trying to live off this? And if you're trying to live off it, you've got to monetize everything and anything you can. I mean, I'm not. I'll put that straight up. I'd like to live off it, but no, actually, no, I'll take that back. I don't know that I would, because I did for 2 years and it was bloody awful. I've got a very good, reasonably senior corporate job that pays me enough money that I need. So my writing money is gravy, you know what I mean?
Whereas I am living off it, and it's terrible for your mental health. I don't recommend.
Yeah, well, I know it is, man. So I did it. I'd been at Hewlett Packard for a very long time. And I took what they called expression of wish, which is basically put your hand up and say, yes, please make me redundant in this round of quarterly redundancies, please. And I walked with enough money that I could go, I'm just going to write. And I did, and I sold 2 books to Penguin Random House for a not inconsequential amount of money. I thought, thank you very much, I like this, I'm an author now. And then 2 years later, I was starting to think, I don't know when or if I'm next getting a paycheck. I don't like this. I'd quite like a job again, please. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's for me. I mean, I'm a family man. I've got a mortgage. I've got commitments. I've got bills to pay and all this sort of shit, like most people have. And I was just like, no, I need to know not only when I'm next getting paid, but how much I'm getting paid, so I can budget. And in publishing, you never know. All right, you know when you're next getting paid, but you've got no clue how much until you say that sales statement. And I mean, for me personally, I couldn't live like that. It's like, no, it doesn't work. It's a house of cards, man. It's got that potential of all horribly collapsing at any given moment. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to go get another nice, easy corporate job I know how to do. which I did, and that's all good. But I take my hat off to anybody who can sustain living on it. Like I say, my friend Sarah Pembroke does, but she's writing for TV and Hollywood and has already had a Netflix series that's leagues above where I'm at. So you think, well, yeah, good for you, but I'm not there yet,
Yeah, I know when abouts I'm getting paid, but my girlfriend can attest about a month before each paid period, I suddenly get very frugal. It's time for dinners in, and I'll wait to see what that paycheck is before I start spending money.
Yeah, exactly that. And it's too unpredictable for me. It really, really is.
Good way to live.
Well, we talked a little bit about this a minute ago, but is there something you wish you didn't know about publishing?
No, I mean, I'm one of those. I'm a bit of a nerd about this kind of thing, to be honest. I want to know everything about an industry I'm in. I mean, I do corporate cybersecurity and threat intelligence, third-party assurance, all that kind of thing for my day job, but I want to know everything about it because anything you don't know is dangerous. It might come back and bite you. And I feel the same about publishing. I mean, everybody, as trouble is, I'm one of those people, I trust no fucker until they give me a reason to trust them. And everybody in publishing is very, very nice. They really are. And most of them have got your best interests at heart. And obviously, they don't make any money until you do and all this kind of thing. But having rubbed sleeves with Hollywood, I mean, I sold a TV option for Priest of Bones that, no, it didn't go anywhere, but that was an absolute ride. And you think some of these people are absolute sharks. Do you know what I mean? I think you need to know everything about whatever industry you're in. I mean, yeah, so some of it's going to be hard truths. And you think, yeah, you might think at the time, I wish I didn't know that because that's put me on a bit of a downer. But you're better off knowing it than not. In any situation, you are better off knowing the facts than not knowing them. Definitely.
I mean, that's a very good point. I would have answered it before, Pete, that there's tons I wish I didn't know. that you can crash and burn. I would never have known. Before I was an author, when I was an aspiring author, I would go to the bookstore and think every one of these names on the shelf is a published author. They're authors, period. Whereas now I go to the bookstore and I know this person works in a produce section in the grocery store. This person does finance. This person, does IT. They're one of my favorite authors in the world. McLean,
So few of us do this full-time professionally.
So few of them have
few.
No other job. It's crazy. And so, yeah, it was nice to think that they were all just authors and they were all super rich. And now I know that they're human beings with issues and problems and bummer.
Yeah, afraid so, man.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but as he said, better to know.
I mean, the thing is, that used to be the case. I mean, you go back to the 60s, 70s when Stephen King was first starting out. He sold the paperback rights to Carrie for, I think, $400,000 or something. And you're like, those days are gone, man. I mean, for his first novel when no one had heard of him. No, that just doesn't happen anymore. I mean, back when we were kids, if you walked into a bookstore and saw authors on the shelves, they probably were doing it full time. But now, nah.
Yeah, it's a good point.
Very, 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 very few of them.
Yeah.
So on the flip side, is there something you know now that you wish you had known when you first started out?
Yeah, you need an agent. Absolutely point one. But I had my first 3 books out before I had an agent. I got published by Angry Robot in their open door. I don't know if they still do, but every year they used to do an open.
I believe they still do something similar, yeah.
Yeah, I think they probably do. I mean, the thing is, Angry Robot now is not Angry Robot then. There's all the personnel have changed. It's changed hands. It's owned by somebody else. There's none of the same people there. So I'm not talking about Angry Robot now. But back then, I entered their open door and kind of forgot about it. Fuck it, it's a punt, and I might as well, doesn't cost anything. And it was 10, 11 months later, I got an email saying, "Oh, can we see the rest of it?" I was like, "Well, what? I forgot about this." Here it is. And they were changing hands yet again, and they all went quiet for another 6 months. And then some guy I'd never heard of who started working there wrote to me and said, "Actually, we'd quite like to publish this." I was like, "Oh, fuck me, really? Oh, thank you very much." And they sent me a contract, and yeah, I didn't have an agent. As I say, I had shopped this manuscript to agents, but I wasn't successful, as a lot of people aren't with their first manuscripts. But I was by then a member of the Society of Authors in the UK, which is kind of like WGA in the US. It's just our authors trade union kind of thing, and they do contract vetting. And they were like, "Oh dear, no, don't sign up to that. Negotiate this out." So I did a bit of that, but I still signed up to things I shouldn't have done, and you just sort of think, oh, well, it's what it is. But they bought the book and they put it out, which was great. And then they bought the next book and they put it out, and then they bought the next book, and I thought, oh yeah, they like this, marvelous. This is going to be my 5-book series now, because I had plotted it all out. I plotted all my shit out, and the third book ended on this massive cliffhanger, because of course they were going to buy the next two, because of course they were. They like me and they're selling, and no, they didn't. They did not buy the rest of them. So I've got a dead series that's ended on a massive cliffhanger at the end of book 3, when there should have been 2 more books, and now are never going to be. And
that is something for which my best friend in the world will be forever rueful, because he.
Oh, who's that, man?
Books is my buddy Eugene. I don't think you ever met him. He comes with me to every WorldCon I've ever been to.
Oh yeah.
Best friend and my beta reader, and he, even before your Priest of Bone series, he like fucking loved the Drake books so much. And he forever, like, he's just like, I want to know what happens. He's just crazy.
Yeah, you're gonna kind of have to manage his expectations, man, because it's not happening now. That's a shame.
Yeah, I have to admit that series has been on my TBR, and then I heard you talk about your experience on the Publishing Radio podcast, and I was like, I guess I'm probably not gonna start reading this then. Just if it ends on a cliffhanger.
Yeah. I mean, I like to think you can still enjoy them, knowing it doesn't really end. But no, it doesn't really end.
Maybe I'll just read book 1.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, there's plenty of series out there that, the unfinished ones that I never tell anyone not to read George R. R. Martin or Patrick Rothfuss or Scott Lynch or myself, because they take a long time to write a book. Because, especially with Patrick Rothfuss, it's not about there's no climax really to the first book either, and certainly not to the second book. It's just about the story as you go along. If you enjoy the book during the course of reading it, then read it. And who cares if George R. R. Martin finishes the series? The other books are great. They got lots. I mean, if you've seen the show, you've seen it. You know what happens. But
I think that's true. I also think that, at least for a certain amount, there's a difference between knowing a series won't be finished and thinking a series could possibly still be finished.
Yeah.
And you have some level of hope for the latter.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's only the end of the world when the author's passed away. If the author's still with us, I will point out the Priest books are all finished, right?
Yeah.
There's 4 of them. That is done. That is finished, wrapped up.
And in some cases, when Robert Jordan passed away, his series suddenly got finished in the most succinct way possible.
Yeah.
By Brandon Sanderson, the most prolific writer alive. So
That's very true.
Yeah. Maybe I should take my own death and have Brandon Sanderson finish the band for me.
No, seriously, do not let him do that, man. No,
I won't.
No, that would absolutely ruin it. No, the number of people that say get Sanderson to finish Ice and Fire, and it's like,
I know.
No, it would ruin it. His voice is so different. You know what I mean? Yeah. No, there is no way. Absolutely no way.
I don't know. I think Abercrombie could maybe.
Yeah. Absolutely, but he doesn't need to, does he? He's got his own thing going on,
He doesn't need to, but I think he might be up to the challenge. Like, it's a tough thing to say, and it's a stupid thing to talk about.
It is. I mean, thinking about it, I mean, obviously not a lot I'm getting asked, but I don't think I'd want to take it on. I mean, it got so much of a banyan tree of branching character threads and new characters introduced in the last book doing their own thing. I don't think I'd attempt it.
Yeah.
He's not a problem that's going to cross my doorstep, because no fucker's going to ask me to attempt it. But you know what I mean? Even if they did, I think I'd be very scared of trying that. That's a massive project to try and take under your wing.
I think it'd be funny to put in every book contract that who should finish your series. Who would you like to finish? I think everyone should just put R.J. Barker.
Yeah, oh, definitely. Oh, Jay can do anything. God, he's brilliant. I love him.
Yeah.
Really good friend. Love him for Fritz. He's a good friend of mine.
Is there any series that you, if you were asked, you would accept the offer to finish?
Oh,
I mean, my answer is nice and short, so I'll go first. I write so slowly that nobody would want me. I could be perfectly to finish Song of Ice and Fire because I would get a book out at exactly the same time as him. But yeah, no, I don't ask myself to finish anyone except for maybe somebody that writes something very similar to my own. Like there's an author named Zachary Pike who writes a book called Orconomics, and Son of a Lich is his second book. And his series is phenomenal. It's like the most Terry Pratchett-y of all Terry Pratchett-like books we've got these days, in that it's brilliantly satirical. He recently got in contact with me and he was like, I finished my third book. Would you like to like take an early look at the third book? And I told him very, very honestly, like there is no book on earth I would rather read early than his third book. Like on the planet, any author, even my favorite author, Guy Gabriel Kay, I'd rather read Zachary Pike's third book before anything. And so apparently it's going to be finished this month. I can't wait to read. And those books, Orconomics and Son of a Lich, if you haven't read them, are brilliant. Not only are they really, really satirical, but they have a lot of heart to them, and you genuinely care about the characters, and they're so good.
Okay, I don't know them at all. I must admit. I think if I was going to write anything, I don't know about finishing an unfinished series. I think that's too much of a big ask. But more books in David Gemmell's Draenei world, I'd take a swing at that. I absolutely love Gemmell, and I love the Draenei world, and I think I could have a go at that. I might say I've done IP fiction before. You know, I've done Warhammer and Frostgrave and various other things. But I think it would be more like writing IP than it would be like writing original fiction, writing in somebody else's sandbox. But
it'd be amazing. I would love for authors to start writing David.
Yeah. I think to do IP well, you've got to love the product.
That's my camera to show the David Gemmell Award up in the top right corner.
Oh, yeah. Man.
Very last Morningstar ever given.
Oh, gutted. They killed off the David Gemmell Award because that was, let's be honest, that was the only fucking one I ever stood any chance of winning. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Hugos and Nebulas aren't for people like me, but
I feel like they should have asked for help funding it because they think they ran for it.
Yeah.
People would have chipped in.
I think it's a crying shame they just cancelled it.
Yeah.
Because it was, that was for people like us, wasn't it? I mean, we are not Hugo and Nebula writers, but the Gemmell, yeah.
Yeah, it was a good thing for, especially epic fantasy. It was perfect for that.
Absolutely. I don't think there's anything, there's the dragon, but that's a bit skewed more towards military sci-fi than it is anything else, isn't it? I missed the Gemmell Award. I always thought if I'm ever going to win anything, it's going to be that. But
well, they're giving them away to anyone, as you can see.
I was shortlisted for the British Fantasy Award, but I lost that to my very good friend Jen Williams, and I've got absolutely no problem with that at all because her books are brilliant. So that's absolutely fair. But nah, it's a shame about the Gemmells. It really is.
Yeah, that was a good question, though.
Well, we've talked about your least favorite thing. Do you have a favorite thing about the publishing industry?
Ooh.
Is there anything good about it?
No, there is. It's. I think it's camaraderie. It's making friends. I mean, I wouldn't have met Nick otherwise. The guy lives 4,000 fucking miles away. We only met because we were both at the same publishing thing. I've made so many friends and good contacts and agents, editors, authors, people I respect, people I like, people whose books I've read, people I've become friends with. And yeah, I think without the industry, none of that would have happened. There's only so much you can do with random people on social media, most of who probably aren't who even they say they are. But when you've done a signing with somebody and you know they're like actually a real person and they've actually got a real book and you might even have read it and enjoyed it, I love that. I mean, I did a thing with Anna Smith Spark at Forbidden Planet in London. I can't remember what it was now, but when I bought her first book, I didn't really know her, and we got to know each other over social media. And she sent me a second and third book signed, and I've first edition production hardcovers, customized, signed Lovely, thank you very much. And we did this thing together, and I said, I'm bringing my first, the first book down for you to sign. And she just sort of laughed like, nah, no, you're not. I don't really know you. And I rocked up with this thing, opened my backpack, slapped out my first edition hardback of Court of Broken Knives. It was like, wasn't kidding. Please sign this. And we've been really, really good friends ever since. And I don't think you'd get that kind of thing without the industry. And I mean, like you were saying, Nick, about RJ, I mean, would I ever have met him if we hadn't both been doing industry cons and publishing events? No, probably not. But no, he's one of my best mates, you know what I mean? And I think that's the main benefit of it. I mean, yes, sales and business and bookstore visibility and foreign sales and translation rights and blah, 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 which is obviously the stuff that makes you money. But in terms of what are the best bits for me, it's making friends, definitely.
Yeah, that was a very, very good answer. And it's true. And ironically, like I was fortunate enough to go to England twice when each book got published. And those friendships are the ones that they've endured so long. And I've met the people for such small amounts of time, especially, someone like Pete, someone like RJ. And yet those friendships just kind of endure, especially because you go through the crucible at the same time as each other. And yeah, it's crazy to miss someone dearly that you've met for so little time, but I definitely do. And also, even things like my editors, like I know a lot of people are rather ambivalent to their editors or sometimes even standoffish. But my editors, I love them. Like especially the first one, my first editor with Kings of the Wyld was a woman named Lindsay Hall, who eventually got headhunted by Tor and moved there. And we're still like, BFFs. We talk every couple months on the phone for hours and know what's going on with each other's lives. We're going to Seattle on a trip together, like with all our friends and girlfriends like this summer. And then the editors I inherited, my UK editor, Emily and Bradley, I adore them. So, and meeting those people and knowing those people and having achieved what you've achieved with them to me, has been pretty rewarding. As rewarding as the friendships that you meet. And obviously, like once in a while, you get some fan mail that's really, really, really gratifying. Like the whole reason I got into writing, crazy as it may sound, was because I read a book by my favorite author that was about leaving a legacy behind. And I thought, well, reading this one specific page, if I could write a book that affected someone the same way that affected me, then that would be a life worth living and a career worth having. And when you get once in a while those emails that verify that you've done that, then that's the best thing about it. Sappy answer, I know. But
That's a good answer.
An excellent answer.
It is. It's a good answer.
Do you have any advice for people who are starting out in publishing?
Pursue a job in
do something else.
Yeah, stream on Twitch.
Yeah. Now, I think I'd say the same thing is do not expect to live on it. Just get a proper job that you can live on and pursue publishing in your spare time. Never expect to live off publishing. If you can, you have absolutely won the game. Good luck to you. But 95% of published authors you've heard of, whose books you've seen in Barnes and Noble, are working a day job. Make your peace with it, because that's just how this works. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
You don't do this for the money. I think it's the main message you've got to land with people. You can make money at it, but you probably won't.
Yeah, and I think a lot of aspiring authors may let opportunities pass them by, whether it's career opportunities or life opportunities in general, in pursuit of this goal. And I would advise them to seize those opportunities. Take the promotion at work, even if it leaves you less time for writing. Stupid as this may sound, but only because I know it's just such a crapshoot. And make the rest of your life as fulfilling as possible, because writing may not be as fulfilling as you hope it would be.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, success in publishing appears to be absolute fucking blind luck. Yeah.
True.
And you can't. If you're single and are prepared to be poor, then yeah, go for it if you want to put your heart and soul into it. But if you've got a family to support, do not bank it on publishing. Just don't do that to them. You know what I mean?
Or just write Greek myth retelling and you're good to go.
3 years ago.
Vampires, it never goes out of style.
Yeah. No, you kind of need to do that 3 years ago. Even that now, I think that's at its day, to be honest.
Well, if you started writing it now, it wouldn't be published for a couple of years, it sounds like. So by then it's too late.
I'd be back in. You never know.
Exactly. And I suppose I don't think I'd want to bet on it.
I mean, even when I wrote my books, to be honest, like the book I was writing before that for about a decade was very George R. R. Martin, very Joe Abercrombie, it was all about people and politics and things like that. If you told me when I was in my early 30s that I would, to read a book, even read a book about goblins or that had orcs in it, I'd be like, no way. I am a grown ass man. I'm not going to.
Yeah.
And so writing a one was just like it felt like a backstep in some ways, but I was like, I'm going to write a book that the kind of book that I loved when I was younger, and it worked out. There is still room for that kind of stuff. Obviously, everyone loves complex plots and politics and stuff like that, courtly intrigue, but once in a while you want to read a book about goblins.
Definitely. I think this kind of stuff goes in cycles, doesn't it?
Yeah, and that's what Christopher Buhlman actually does really well, The Black Tongue Thief.
Yeah.
It makes goblins terrifying, like absolutely terrifying.
Oh, Black Tongue Thief is so good.
It's a masterpiece.
He did a brilliant job with that. But then, I haven't read it. There's a book by, I always want to call him Travis Bickle, and I know that's the guy at Taxi Driver, and that's not his name. I can't remember what his name is. It's Travis something, who wrote a book about an orc who runs a coffee shop.
Travis Baldry, Legends and Lattes.
That's him. That's him, Baldry. Yeah. And it sold about 11 million copies, and I just think, well, fucking good for you, mate. But really? Do you know what I mean? It is so far off the kind of thing I read. I just think, what? But I mean, it's been picked up by Tor, I think. It's obviously good.
Picked up by my old editor, actually.
Oh, okay. I was like, it's obviously good and it's obviously popular, but I just look at the blurb and think, really? Do you know what I mean? But everybody likes different things, and I'm not knocking him at all. Good luck to the guy. He's done very, very well, but if you look at the premise and okay.
Yeah, cozy fantasy existed before him. He definitely will usher in a whole new.
It looks that way, doesn't it? It does seem to be something people want now.
To be honest, his second book is even better. His second book, I got a chance to read it early because we share the same editor, and she sent it to me. It's called Bookshops and Bone Dust.
Okay.
It features a pug griffin mix, I believe, named Pot Roast.
Yeah. And Pete, if you're ever going to give it a shot, I would start with the second one because it has slightly higher stakes, and it feels like there's more to it as far as danger go. But yeah, it's hard it's so good. Like he just nailed it. And the thing is, he wrote it in these short amount of time, like 4 months. He wrote it in once he did all his past. But it's brilliant.
I think he said Legends and Lattes was his NaNoWriMo project.
Yeah.
And I do think that he benefited from having it come out near the tail end of a pandemic when everyone just wanted something cozy and reassuring.
Yeah. I think they did. I mean, there's a series I've wanted to read for ages, which is Oscar's Second Apocalypse. And I started with the first one's called The Darkness That Comes Before. And I mean, I'll keep banging on about this. I'm a huge fan of Anna Smith Spark, and she's always cited L. Scott Baker as her biggest influence. And I started reading this at the start of the beginning of the plague during the first lockdown. And I got about 20, 30. I was like, fucking no, I don't need this much misery in my life at this precise moment. But I think a lot of the time it's the right thing at the right time. I mean, I know I will love those books. That was just not the right time to try and start reading them. So yeah, no, I can see how something light and cheerful was popular at that time. Definitely.
His books are very, very dark. If you ever get into him, he's the person I consider, even more than my favorite author of all time, the best sentence for sentence writer who's ever lived.
Really? Okay.
Like, there's been sentences I've read of his where I've just been gobsmacked. And like, I used to read while I walk all the time, and I've stopped for 5 minutes straight staring at a sentence being like, how did a human being come up with this? It's ridiculous. But he's also really smart, and he does not help us out as a reader. And his books, his first trilogy is phenomenal. I think it's very, very readable. His second trilogy is phenomenal. but my God, it's you don't know. Sometimes you read a scene, and despite the writing being phenomenal, you have no idea where you are, what's happening, what the room looks like, nothing.
I like that kind of thing. R.J. Barker does that in the Tide Child trilogy. And he just launches you into the world. You have no idea what the terminology means, what the society looks like, but you have to just power through. You kind of pick it up through osmosis. Do you know what I
I think
mean?
you'll love our Scott
And
Packer.
that's so clever. I can't do
Oh.
that. I mean, my fantasy is basically historical fiction, but there's a wizard there. Do you know what I mean? Which makes it very easy for people to pick up because they know, we're in London in 1640. This isn't that fucking difficult, is it? You know what I mean? Oh, Jesus, like you're a who and that's a what and you where? Do you know what I mean? You have to get your eye in, which is a very different approach, but. If it's one or and Anna's the same. Anna's very, especially in her newer stuff, very much the same with that. You've got to get your eye in, but once you do, it is so good. Yeah, I can really get into that.
Well, I have one question that you don't have to answer.
Okay.
This is the publishing talk. Is there any good gossip you can share? But you're still in the industry, so I understand if you're like, no, of course not.
Ooh.
Good stories.
I'm probably gonna say no. There's been a lot. Oh, fuck me. There's always a lot going on. And publishing is the gift that never stops giving. Do you know what I mean? There is always gossip, and Twitter, for all its many and varied faults.
I would say it's the wound that never heals, but okay. Sure.
Yeah. That would be another way of looking at it. Is there any gossip I can share? Illegally, probably not by mentioning names, but I think one of the lessons learned from recent publishing drama is be very careful which agent you sign with. I'm dancing here. There has been a recent event, I started with it about the last 4 or 5 weeks, with an agency that has suddenly fired no end of clients because they had to fire one of their agents for good reasons. And these people are just, I didn't do anything wrong. And now I don't have an agent anymore. And yeah, that's probably all I'm going to say about that.
That was more than I thought I'd do.
Yeah, there is always something going on. Honestly, I love it. I really miss it. There used to be a Twitter account from somebody who probably got a cease and desist from their employer. I don't know, called Publishing Tea, that used to spill the tea on what was going on, and it just suddenly disappeared, and I miss it. It's a shame. It was fascinating.
It was a great Twitter account. Yeah.
It was
fantastic.
I loved Publishing Tea, but it just went, and you think, oh yeah, no, you got fired or gagged, and you think, oh, such a
R.I.P.
Yeah, exactly that. But no, I mean, there is always something. The publishing industry is an absolute shit show. It really is. And genres, I can't remember when I thought horror writer Twitter were attacking each other recently over whether cozy horror exists or not. And I don't even know why anyone cares, but they were tearing chunks out of each other over that.
Jesus.
There's always some kind of drama on Twitter.
Oh, isn't there? There was some fantasy something before the cozy horror gate, but I can't remember what it was now. I mean, the thing is, this stuff is so frequent. You even forget what people are biting fur off each other for. Do you know what I mean? And it's always something stupid that doesn't matter. But nah.
No, there was that one journalist who dared to call Brandon Sanderson rich, and who just got absolutely destroyed for it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. That didn't end well, did it? No.
Yeah, that was pretty good for a few days.
Mm-hmm.
That was some drama.
There's always, if you look for it, there is always drama somewhere. Such is the joy.
Well, thank you both so much for spending time with us. This has been a wonderful, wonderful conversation. I enjoyed every minute of it. Would you share with our listeners where they can find you, follow you, to hear more of your excellent stories?
Yeah, I'm at PMC666 on Twitter and Instagram. Not that I use Instagram, really. And I've got a very out-of-date website at talonwraith.com. And obviously I'm on Facebook under my own name. But if you want to actually talk to me on Twitter. That's my main platform, at PMC666.
The same goes for me. Twitter, I'm on there under, I think, the Book of Eames. Instagram my Instagram is amazing. It's just beautiful pictures of books and coffee and stuff like that. I highly recommend you follow me there. Please, God, don't add me on Facebook. I'm not accepting any more friends, and we'll be off it eventually.
Wonderful. Thank you again, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening or day, whatever time it is.
Thank you both for having us.
Yeah, thank you for having us on. It's been great fun. Good to meet you both, and good to see you again, Nick.
Thank you for coming on to drink whiskey and talk publishing with us.
Anytime.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Fiction Fans.
Come disagree with us. We are on Twitter and Instagram at FictionFansPod. You can also email us at fictionfanspod@gmail.com.
If you enjoyed the episode, please rate and review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and follow us wherever your podcasts live.
Thanks again for listening, and may your villains always be defeated. Bye.
Bye.